everyone, Teacher Brittany here. I have a student no-show right now, so I thought I would make a quick video about the Magic Ears hiring process. I have been working for VIP Kid, which is a different ESL company since last July, and I teach level 2, 2, 3, and 4 now, and the curriculum's getting a little old, so I decided I wanted to make a jump to kind of teach something new and exciting, and that's when I heard about Magic Ears. And so I've been going through the interview process, and while it's all fresh in my mind, I thought I would kind of give my thoughts, especially because I have the experience of interviewing for VIP Kid, which seemed like it was a much more extensive process and a little harder to get through over a course of probably 3 to 4 weeks, and then I didn't get any bookings for a few weeks. So until I got to teach, it actually was an extensive process. So my Magic Ears experience has been much easier since then. First, same with VIP Kid, you fill out the application, and I'm assuming that it's buzzwords or something that gets you either the interview or not. And so make sure that you have a good resume put together. If you have educational experience, make sure that's on there, how many years you have. That really matters, it seems like, to the Chinese companies. If with Magic Ears, if you have an ESL cert, that helps. I took a Groupon class it was like $19 or $20. It took me a weekend, like a few hours, to kind of read through it, and that was enough to get that certification put on my application and my resume for the companies. If you have the ESL cert and a bachelor's or master's in education, you actually get paid more from ME, so Magic Ears. So if that is on there, make sure that it's clear, maybe at the top in a highlighted qualification section, that you have those qualifications, so that you can get what you deserve as far as pay. So after the application, you can either choose to do a live demo or an introduction on your application. And I didn't choose that. I have many years of teaching experience, and with the master's and bachelor's degree, I thought I would be okay, and I was. So I just wanted to apply real quick and didn't want to put it together. Some people really like doing the interview or doing the introduction. It helps kind of get them to show like who you are in your classroom, and especially if you're new to the process, it's a good time to practice your online presence, because it's very different teaching online than it is in a normal classroom setting. After you turn in the application, if it's accepted, you move on to the demo, and that's where a mentor teacher will give you some time. You have a couple slides of a lesson. I think it was like 7 or 8 slides about washing your face, and I got a washcloth. Make sure you have at least 2 props. I had a few props, so when I said wash your face, I got out a washcloth and wash your face, and kind of get the students to interact. Even it's a teacher that's acting as a student, but get her to or him to interact with you. Brush your teeth. I brought a toothbrush out and brushed my teeth. Spit it out, So do what you can to bring your personality and your creativity. It seems like Magic Ears, instead of liking the cookie cutter, everyone teaches the same way, they like the creativity, and they like seeing what the teachers can come up with. And that's something that I've really liked about this company so far, was I didn't just have to teach the standard way, but I was able to kind of bring in my own ideas, just like I used to in my own classroom when I was developing my own curriculum for the classes. So with that, you talk first with the mentor, so don't worry about as soon as you turn your camera on being on stage, if you will, like, hello, I'm Teacher Brittany. You'll talk with your mentor for a few minutes. They'll answer any questions that you have. And I would say that a lot of the interview is subjective to depending on what that particular interviewer is looking for, or mentor. So ask them, be like, hey, when I introduce myself, would you recommend that I do this or this? Or, on the 4th slide, I wasn't really sure how to make the game work, and, what would you recommend? And go over that before you actually get into it. That way it takes the guesswork out of it. What are you looking for? Because I can structure my teaching to what you are looking for. So after the live demo, it was only a few slides. It wasn't that big of a deal. And then you wait two business days. That one for me actually came back really, really fast. And I got the email that afternoon. Some people wait upwards of 2 business days. So if you do it on, a Thursday or Friday, it may be until the next week that you don't figure that out. So take that into account when you're trying to plan how long it is out that you would like to start teaching from when you start the interview process, because you don't get paid for any of these demos or the training. After your demo, let's see, you go into your 1v4, which is kind of an info dump. You don't have to, I looked through the slides, but you don't really have to prep for it per se. You're not teaching, but it's going to be 4 teachers and the mentor, and you'll be able to see the platform. They go through all the different buttons with you. So before you really have to use the platform in the demo, you do use the platform. And so they're really impressed if you like give them a trophy, which there's a little button for a reward. But they don't expect that of you since you haven't really been trained on it. So I would definitely go in for, backtracking to the demo, I would definitely go in for the demo and mess around with the buttons. You can, I think it's up to 24 hours out. I the night before I went in and opened it up and looked at the slides and pushed the buttons to see what they did, and then use them. Well, in the 1v4, you really go in and get into the weeds with the platform and how you utilize all the different buttons and moving the people up and down. And one thing that's really awesome about this curriculum is that since it is 4 students with your one teacher, up to 4 students, you really get the interactive piece, which I like. So you facilitate games and activities with the students. Like, one student is role playing, you move their face up, hello, move the other person's face up, how are you? And they can ask each other back and forth. And you're not only a teacher, but a facilitator of that communication. Rather than just the one-on-one. And it also helps if you get a student that maybe doesn't quite understand the material yet. They learn from each other so fast that if another student catches on really fast, then it seems like the other ones kind of chime in like, oh, that's what we're supposed to be doing. So that's kind of cool with that. So the 1v4, don't stress about, don't spend an exorbitant amount of time prepping for it. Just go into it, learn all that you can. One thing that might help is getting some sort of screen recorder, which I did not have. I had a little bit of a break between my 1v4 and then I teach with VIP kids, so it was a while till I could schedule my 1v1. And after I had done that, it was like a week, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't remember what all these buttons do, and I wish I would have recorded it. So your 1v1 is the next step, and that is where you teach little pieces of lessons to your teacher and then get feedback to the mentor. So you teach her to the mentor. So when I did this, we went on, and it's, again, you don't have to be kind of in character as soon as you get on. You'll talk through, hello, how are you today? And go through the welcome slide. And there's a lot of things that Magic Years want. You want to pull everyone up to individual and say hello to each student individually, and then to everyone as a class, and same with you when you exit the class. So they kind of go over all the rules for you so that you don't break those when you're kind of in the real class in the trial, which is later down the line. So with your 1v1, while it is a lesson that you're teaching, so you definitely want to prep for it, it's a little more professional. You want to make sure for both the 1v1 and the 1v4 and the demo, really, that you're in your classroom, the lights are on, they're very good, you're, done up. You obviously don't have to wear makeup. I wear the red lipstick because I feel like, they can see my mouth better when, there's an S at the end of a letter S. They can see me enunciate and make those sounds, but it's not at all required. That's more of a personal preference. So for the 1v1, I made sure that everything was good. My classroom was set up. In the 1v1, I actually was given the feedback that my classroom was not as colorful as it needed to be because it just had this little map and one little poster. So I added them for the trial, and it was very successful, the students, and I got really good feedback from the company saying that they liked that, my classroom setup. So I always add things to it as, when I'm at the dollar store or at the Target dollar section, I'll find different things like the streamers or the different characters and throw them in the classroom to kind of change it up for students that you may have on repeat if you see them again. For the 1v1, since it is just you and the other teacher, you kind of go in and out of character. So she'll introduce yourself, her, or I had a female. So introduce yourself, go over what the different buttons do, and then you kind of go into that trial piece. So you'll teach a few slides, and then they'll stop you and say, okay, this is my feedback for the slide. This is how you want to teach this. This is what Magic Years expects you of this slide, that you, there are certain interactive slides that go into that. It's very obvious that have 2 sides. that you want to go into the teacher and bring up each student individually. When you pull them back down, give them a trophy. So they reiterate all that multiple times so that when you're in your trial, you don't forget any of these things. So the trial for me went very well. It was easy to schedule. It was more my schedule that was the conflict with getting into that sooner. So it was about, I think, 45 minutes to an hour long. And so we went over it, did the demo for the class, and then she gave me some last minute tips, and she had a checklist of things like, don't forget this and this and this. So make sure you bring a pen and paper, because I took some notes. One thing that she also did for me, my mentor, that I really appreciated was she recorded it for me, which again, I didn't know how to screen record by that point. I think for Macs, you can do it through QuickTime. And then there are some other, I don't have a PC, but there are some, if you Google it, there are some other programs that you can screen record for that. And I definitely recommend it. You can always delete it, but once it's done, you can't go back and see it. So for my trial, that was where I actually had the hiccup in my interview process. I had my trial scheduled, well, like no kidding, the night before I got this cold that I'm still coughing from, and lost my voice completely, sounded hoarse. I had to cancel like 10 classes with my other company, like overnight. And this is the awesome part. So with the other company, I actually, when I was sick with the cold and felt like awful, I had to drag myself out to the doctor, even though I knew it was a cold and I couldn't get any medicine for it, but, Dayquil and NyQuil. And, had to drag myself out of bed to go to the doctor to get a doctor's note to turn into the company. Well, when I went to Magic Ears and said the same thing, it was the night before, and I said, listen, I have my trial tomorrow. I've lost my voice. I even sent a preview of I was like, this is my voice, so that they could hear it, that it was really a problem. All they said was, okay, thanks, I hope you get better and come back when you're completely recovered. They didn't ask for a doctor's note or anything, even though I had to get one for my other company in order to not get charged for my classes that I canceled at the last minute. So that was one thing that I really thought was a defining moment of difference between the two companies, because with VIP Kid, they're not as flexible. They have so many teachers and so many students that they're not as flexible with the sick policy, where it seems like Magic Ears really wants you to be at 100% when you're teaching these students, so that these parents are getting their money out of the classes. And if you're not at 100%, they will replace you with another teacher, and like no harm, no foul. I was really nervous since I was in the trial process and felt so terrible. I was like, I don't want them to think that I am a terrible employee, that I get sick like twice a year, and like it just happened that it was the night before my trial. And my fears were really, I heard that they were more flexible, and that was one reason I liked them, but I was like, really, like when you get down to it and you get sick, is it really going to be flexible? And it was. From what I found out, and they were actually very concerned about my health and well-being as a person, and treated me like an adult, saying like, all right, you said you're sick, we believe you. You don't have to go to the doctor, you don't have to turn in a doctor's note. So that was something that I really thought was a moment that made me realize that maybe this company is more the one that I would like to teach more with once I get through the interview process. I have 2 small kids under 2.5, and they get sick. They're in daycare during the day. They get sick. They come home with runny noses. Both of them have ear infections right now. I had to take, the last 2 days have been spent taking them to doctor's appointments, both to the same ear doctor, but on different days, since they couldn't get us in together, of course. So there's a lot that comes up last minute in terms of illness for my family. And this is nice, that knowing that if I have a family emergency and I'm not going to be at 100%, or versus having a crying kid, right next to me waiting, that I can just cancel the class and know that like my job will be there on the other side of it. Which to me is critical. I definitely want more job security with flexibility, because that's life. So I was really impressed with how they handled it. And they were super responsive. I messaged them on Skype the night before, and I said, I am so sick. I am so sorry. I have my trial. And it was like, okay, done. Like, we're good to go. Canceled. So fast forward. So I had to wait like a week and a half because my voice was still really hoarse. I sounded like a man through half of it. And and finally got to the point where I was like, you know what, I can teach again. And so I messaged them back and said, I'm good to teach anytime from this time to this time in the morning. And it was a day or two later that they scheduled my trial. So it was nice that they were ready to go. They were responsive. They waited until I was ready and felt like I could give the students my 100% because I didn't want to go into a trial with half a voice and not as much energy, because it was like the worst cold I've ever got in my life. It put me out for over a week. And all I could take was the Dayquil, NyQuil, which wasn't super helpful. So I did the trial, and for my trial, so sometimes you have the students. For me, I had 2 people from headquarters, I'm assuming because they scheduled it for me last minute. 2 people from headquarters that pretended to be the students. One thing that, because it was from headquarters, when I got into the classroom for the trial, you want to go in character. And you want to, hello class, I'm teacher Brittany, welcome to Magic Ears. The whole spiel. There was a lot of noise in the background, and they tell you through every single training in the demo, if there's noise, mute the student. Well, I don't know, I lost my mind, I guess. It had been so long since I had done the other one. I was thinking, oh, they're at headquarters. Like, there's people talking in the background. Well, apparently it was a test to see if I knew how to work the mute button. So I did mute them, but I didn't push the help because I was like, well, they're in the headquarters. They know that it's loud in the background. So I would recommend, it's a test. It's a test. So do the mute first. Make sure that all the students that have noise, the little noise bars going up on their little screens, mute them first, go up to the help button and push the help and say which one it is, because that was a test for me and I failed it. And later in the class, I did end up pushing the help button. I was like, I wonder if this is like, so I pushed the help button, and that was one of the comments I got after the fact. So whoops. So don't do what I did. So I went through, I went through the trial, and it was actually pretty easy. They were very responsive. Some of them pronounced things incorrectly, so make sure that you're on their pronunciation just like you would be in a normal class. And make them repeat it, bring them up and down for all the interactions and everything that they tell you in the 1v1s. Because it had been so long, thankfully, my mentor had screen recorded our trial or our 1v1, because I went back and I watched all 50 minutes of it over, because I forgot what a lot of the buttons did. So I would recommend, if you could, schedule them very close together so that training is really fresh in your mind in order to do it. Well, I finished my trial, and this time I had to wait the full 2 days, which, had me going crazy. I was like, the other one I heard right away, and everyone says it takes up to 2 days. Well, it took the full 2 days. But finally, I got the approval that they did want to bring me on contract, and sent the contract and everything to my email. The other thing you have to take into account is there is a 5-day wait for your background check. So once you turn in the contract, they give the information of their contracting company that does it, and they'll email you, and you give your information really fast, and have that started, because it does take 5 days. I'm on day like 7 or 8 now, so it might have been 5 business days. So I shouldn't have anything in my background that would disclude me from working that I know of. So it has taken, but we would be on like almost the fifth or sixth business day right now. And there was also a festival this weekend, so that probably didn't help my timing again. First the sickness, then the timing of the holidays. So I hope to start next week, and I will update you guys with how I think that it's going so far. I think it's going to be awesome. The students seem really excited, and I love watching all the videos of them. And I would recommend to stand. So I have a sit-stand desk that for the Magic Ears classes, all the demos, all the training, the trials, I went ahead and stood up for, because it does seem like with the students and this interactive type of method, it's a lot better and a lot easier to interact, and we're running, together with them, and kind of get them involved, because instead of just one student that you're getting involved, you're trying to keep three or four students attention on you while you're teaching while you're teaching them and keep them engaged all at the same time. And with the 4 students, it seems like it may be easy to kind of like have one off in the corner, not really participate, especially if they're on mute or so if there's background noise. You don't know a lot of times if they're pronouncing something incorrectly until you come up to the interactive mode. So I would recommend standing for it. Other tips, make sure, like I said, make sure that you have your lighting really good. They're very big on lighting. Any background noise, this wall actually backs up to my laundry room. So I have to make sure that it's not a loud noise, but sometimes, my husband and I will start something before he leaves, like he'll start something before I leave in the morning, something in the washer. Make sure that you don't do that, have any of the background noise in the background, because they will give that to you in your feedback. It's a zero noise background noise policy, zero tolerance. So make sure that you follow all those. Take notes during any of your trainings. Make sure when they give you feedback, that you follow it. When they said, change your background, I changed my background. They want to see that you're improving as a teacher, and they care. They care that they know what's going to make the parents and the students happy, and they want to pass that information to you so that you can be successful. See, my voice is still going out. Anyway, well, thank you guys for listening. If you have any other questions or want to use me as a referral, I'd be more than happy. The process is very fresh in my mind, and if you want to use me as a referral going forward, I'd be more than happy to mentor you through the process and tell you, the things that worked for me and didn't work for me. I definitely have some lessons learned, like push the help button, push the help button, push the help button. Got it now. So anyway, thanks for listening. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.